morning, everyone. All right, so I'm going to turn down the music for just a moment as I say good morning. Hello, good morning. Welcome, everybody. I see some of us are coming in, so good morning. We're going to get started right at 11:30. So I see some of us are already tuning in. If you are here for the very first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mr. Kengo. I'm one of the educators here at the Science Center. If you're returning and you've been joining us for some time now, welcome back. We're so glad to have you again. We're going to get started in about 4 minutes. So while we're waiting, friends, just like we always do, let us know in the comments box. Hi, good morning to those saying hello. You are in my brain. You're already reading my mind. Let us know where you're joining us from. Say hello. Go ahead and practice that just so that we know that you can be able to participate along with us from home. Okay? So, like I said, first of all, good morning and welcome. Happy Monday. While we're waiting for our friends to join us, go ahead and let us know in the comment box where you're joining us from. Hello, Lucia. Hi, Sophia. Good morning. Oh, that's great. I see some friends joining us from our homeschool group again. That's awesome. We love seeing our homeschool families joining us, as well as all of our families joining us. So thank you so much. Hi, Kara. Oh, it's great to see some LSC staff joining us too. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Hi from Nutley, Jen. Thank you. Hi, Anna. Good morning. I'm going to turn on the music again just a little bit, okay? But go ahead, keep saying where you're coming from as you're joining us. If you're joining us and you just popped in. Hello, Marie from Parsippany. Hello. Oh, from Pennsylvania. That's awesome. Hello, Kim from Pennsylvania. Awesome. So I'm going to turn back the music just to give us a bit of an introduction, right? To get our minds and our bodies ready to do some science together. If you're just tuning in, we're going to get started in another 2 minutes or so, but let us know where you're joining us from. Good morning, Hans. Good morning. From Jersey City. Oh, great. Right. Just around the corner from the Science Center. Hello. Oh, thank you, Nia. Thank you so much for that kind, thoughtful response. That was really great. Of course, we're so glad to be able to do these programs for you and for so many of our other families and children at home. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on Mondays. Hello from Jersey City, Juliana from New Jersey. Hi. Hi, Teddy from Japan. Nice. Oh, Binta from Weehawken. Hello. Hi, Binta. Hi, Nico from Garfield. Good morning. Oh, hi, Rocco. Welcome back. Hi, Angeline. Welcome back. Oh, it's great to know I'm connecting with so many of our families that usually join us from home for our homeschool days at the Science Center. We miss you guys. We hope to see you guys all very soon, but we're so glad to be able to connect with everybody here on Facebook Live and to have you joining us and participating with us from home. That's great, right? Oh, from Canada. That's awesome. Thanks, Nia. Hey, Peggy. Hi, Vivian from Staten Island. Hey. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Ryan from Hoboken. Oh, hi, Irina. First grade. We have many of our first grade friends around from New Jersey. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Okay, so friends, I'm going to make sure the music is all the way turned down, and it is 11:30, so we're going to give another minute or so just to let our friends tune in and join us, and then we're going to get started today. Okay? So keep saying hello and good morning, right? Starting off our week well. Hi, Giovanni. Hi, Frankie. Oh, Frankie. Hi, Frankie. Frankie, I miss you guys. I hope to see you this summer. I hope Moosie's doing well too. Shout out to Moosie. Oh, hi. Hi, Darlene. Oh, hi, Hope. Thank you, Hope. Thanks, Marie. All right, everybody. So it is 11:31. I'm going to go ahead and change the screen, make sure the music is all the way down so we can say hi and good morning and get started with our program today. So let me take a moment to do that, and you should see me. So hello, welcome, happy Monday, happy Monday. Good morning to everybody tuning in from home. Thank you so much for joining us here on Facebook Live. So my name is Mr. Kengo, and I'm one of the educators that works at the Science Center. So my role there is the Associate Director for Early Childhood Education Programs. So I do a lot of our work with our youngest audience members, which is so great because I love connecting here on Facebook Live. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for participating along with us here on our Monday morning. What you're going to see me do, friends, if this is your very first time joining us, welcome. If you've been joining us, like a lot of us, I saw a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names, right? If you've been joining us, welcome back. We're so glad to have you. Just to let our friends know, like we usually do, right? You might see me look this way. That's just to make sure that I can see your comments as best I can as we're doing our program today. Now, I may not see all your comments, friends, but please know that we love that you're joining us today and we welcome you first of all. Okay? So, what we're going to be doing, friends, is a program. So, I'm going to switch the screen so that you can see our program today. Okay? So, our program today is called Shooting Hoops, or it's Shooting Hoops with Uncle Isaac. Now, Uncle Isaac, right, is Sir Isaac Newton, and that gives us a hint about what we're going to be talking about today. And if you don't know who Sir Isaac Newton is, that's okay. It's a really cool scientist, right? But what I would love our friends to do right now is focus on the bottom question you see on the right side of your screen. Okay? Now, that is what I love to call our driving question. And if our friends have been joining us, we know what a driving question is, right? We've built some familiarity around that language. But if you don't know, or if you've forgotten, that's okay too, right? A driving question is a big question we want to see if we can answer by the end of our program today. Okay? Now, I love starting with our driving questions in the beginning of our program just to make sure we're receiving and hearing and listening and sharing all of what we already know, which is super important in science, right? So that driving question is, what is a force and where can we see a force around us? All right? So I'm going to repeat that question again. So what is a force and where can we see a force or forces around us? Now, I love seeing your feedback, friends. So if you can, go ahead and type in your responses, right? So my little friends joining us from home here on Facebook Live, go ahead and type in your responses. And I love to see what you already know about these driving questions in the chat. Now, if you don't know an answer to either question, that's okay, right? You came to the right program because we're going to talk about both of those things. Okay, but go ahead and tell me and share out what you already know. Okay, so I'm going to turn this way like I was saying before so that I can see what our responses are here on Facebook. So let me go do that now. Let's see. Oh, something that moves. I'm seeing some friends saying, Jenny is saying something that moves. Oh, I see Darlene said gravity. My friends, kiss that brain. Good job, brain. Yeah, that's awesome. Gravity is definitely a force. I see Antonio saying a force is something that pushes with all your might. Nice job, Antonio. Nice. I see Rena is saying a force is stomping and kicking. You're right in my brain because I'm definitely going to talk about that in some slides coming up, okay? So let's see, I see a lot of friends sharing out forces. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for using that chat box to let us know, leaving a comment, right, so that we can see what we already know about forces, which is awesome. Oh, I love this. Melissa said we can't see a force. Force is invisible. Or that's from Aaron. Aaron, you are super right, friend. Sometimes we cannot see these forces, right? Even if we kick it, right? We could see our kick, but these forces sometimes that push things, right? We can't see it. It's invisible. You're right. Yeah. Hi, Tara. Oh, I see our friend that's using Paige. Paige, say you're 6. Hi, welcome. Hi, Antonio from Brooklyn. Let's see what other forces. So, Antonio and Paige, feel free to leave us a comment. We're talking about what we already know about a force, okay, and where we can see forces happening around us. So, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment box so that we can see what you already know about it. All right? We're going to take another 30 seconds, 10 seconds to do this. Okay? And then we'll get started. So something that moves, I see Jen is saying we're not sure. Jen, that is such a great thought, friend. I love that we feel comfortable to say I'm not sure. I'm not sure a lot of stuff too, but it's great to say that you don't know because that's the first step of learning, right? Okay. Oh, I see Courtney saying a push and a pull, right? And Frank, I think that's from Frankie, so great job, Frankie. I see a lot of friends are saying pushes and pulls, pressure from air. Cool. Oh, I see Joyce said a wind pushing a sailboat. Awesome job. All right, friends. Oh, some Ellen is saying magnets. So magnets definitely there's forces happening, right? And there's if you keep looking at forces, friends, there's a big difference between a contact force and a non-contact force. And one of our friends was mentioning something about that before, how there's forces that we can see, right? Pushing and pulling occurring, and forces we can see, right? Cool. All right. And I see Binta saying there's some forces when something drops. I see Sean is saying a force is like gravity. All right, my friends. So I think these are some really awesome thoughts. Great place to start. So what I like to do is tell you what I like to think about when I'm trying to wrap my head around what is a force. So let's start with that big question first. Okay? So what is a force? Like my friends were saying, and you got it exactly right, right? A force is a push or a pull. Okay? So a force really is a push or a pull. And that pushing and pulling might look lots of different ways, right? Some of our friends already mentioned it. When a force, we can see a force is a pushing force, right? When wind is blowing on a sail to push a boat forward, or when we kick a ball, that's a pushing force, right? Now, that is our big idea first. A force is a push or a pull. Okay, so that's key number one. Force is a push or a pull. Now, where we can see these things happening, forces happening around us, is all around us all the time. We just have to look, right? So here are some examples, but I love how my friends shared already some examples you know about. So if you can think of any others, go ahead and leave it in the comment box so we can all see it, okay? So on your screen, you're going to see some of my examples that I like to think about when I'm thinking about forces acting around us. When I see us jumping up and down, right, on a trampoline or at a park, right, that's definitely a force happening, right? That's when we jump up, we always come down, right? Unless we're in space, right? When we jump up, we always come down because of a pulling force, because of gravity, right? So that's definitely a force that we can see all the time. Okay, and this also works for all the things we play with. When we play basketball, when we play baseball, right? We can see forces acting on those things too. Now, this idea of gravity might sound really super familiar because we talked about it when we talked about our maple seeds. So my friends that were joining us for previous sessions, right? Previous Mondays, we made our maple seed models and we talked about how not only real maple seeds, but our maple seed models were being pulled down by a force called gravity, right? That's being pulling it down to the ground, right? So there's a pulling force visible there. Now, there's other things that we can see forces acting around us, right? So when we play soccer, I like to play soccer. I don't play so much anymore, but I do like soccer, right? And we can see, just like our friends mentioned in the chat, you can see a pushing force happen when you kick the ball, right? But you can also see it when you use some different machines. So this is a really cool machine called a pulley, right? And when you pull it, right, you pull the ropes, right? It can help lift something, it helps pull it up with much less force. So we can see a pulling force happening there too. But one of the things that I love thinking about is how much you can see pushes and pulls and conversations about forces when you think about different careers, right? Engineers, they have to think about forces all the time when we're thinking about constructing something or building something. Okay, so if you really like forces, right, and physics, which is the study of movement and energy, right, engineering is a really cool thing to try. Okay, and we're going to try it in a little bit too. Now, that's a whole lot of talking about forces and different ways we can see forces acting around us, right? What we're going to do right now is we're going to build a model like we usually do, okay? And that model is going to involve a lot of things, a lot of materials. So what you're going to need are some of the things pictured here. But like you saw in our message to you guys, is that you can use pretty much anything for our program today. So if you don't have exactly what I have pictured here, that's okay. Okay, one of the things you do want to try and grab, friends, and I forgot to mention this before, so I'm sorry, but you're going to need something to connect those pieces together, right? So what you see on my screen, friends, is Mr. Kengo grabs some tape. So if you don't have tape in front of you, friends, go ahead and I'll give you a moment to go ahead and grab some tape. Okay, you can grab some tape. In a little bit you might see that I'm going to also use some rubber bands, so you can use that instead. Okay, or this session, as well as all of our sessions, are recorded. So if you just want to watch, that's okay too, right? Because it'll be here so you can watch and participate later, right? Now, the example I'm going to make today, friends, is pictured on your screen on the right hand side. That's what I'm going to make. Okay? But you don't have to make what Mr. Kengo makes. You can make whatever you want to make, right? That's a really cool thing about science. You can kind of explain your thinking and explore, right, to demonstrate what you know. Okay? So the model that I'm going to make today is pictured on the right hand side right here. But you can make a catapult however you like. So I wanted to try and list some different examples of other catapults you can try and make too. So your catapult might look like this, right? This is an example of a catapult, right? I used 2 cups and I used a spoon. Now this part of the middle, friends, it has a special name. It's called a fulcrum, right? It's called a fulcrum. So if you're at home and you're just learning that word, or you knew that word, awesome, right? If you didn't know that word, it's a fulcrum. It's kind of the thing in the middle. If you're on a seesaw and it kind of goes back and forth, that middle piece that helps you balance, that's called a fulcrum. Now this is one example, but you also might want to make something that looks kind of like this. Now this was a catapult that I saw my boss make. His name is Mr. Rubin. Now Mr. Rubin's catapult looked like this, which I thought was really cool. And the cool thing about it, since we're talking about fulcrums, friends, the wonderful thing about this model is the fulcrum can move. So where I made my model taped, I couldn't move it because it was taped, right? But this model allows my fulcrum to go back and forth. Okay? because I'm using rubber bands instead of tape. Now, I'm not sure. I'm going to take a look in a moment to see if any friends have questions about or comments that they want to see one example or the other. Again, okay, what I'm going to let you know, friends, I'll go through it one more time, all three other examples, but this, just like I mentioned before, is recorded so that you can watch it later if you want to take a look at any one example and stop the video there. That way you can really focus on building something that looks like an example you saw that you really enjoyed. Okay? But this is example number 2, and we have one more example, example number 3. So let's take a look at that. So this is that example. Now I wanted to include something that uses a ruler, since in the materials list that we mentioned, friends, we mentioned a ruler, right? Because we needed something long, right? Because we want to have not only our fulcrum, but this long piece involves our load area and our effort area. And we'll mention what those two words mean in a little bit. But we kind of want something long to have a place to hold what we're launching and something to push down on the other side. So I wanted to include something that used a ruler. Now you're going to notice on your screen the ruler's kind of cut off. That's because I wanted to make sure you saw this side. Okay? So this is that third example. Okay? Now what I'm going to do, like I usually do, friends, is I'm going to change the screen that you're seeing. So instead of these slides that I'm trying to show you, right, these examples, right, I'm going to show you just my whole self so we can walk through making one of our models together. Okay, but just like I mentioned before, I'm going to go through the different examples one more time. Okay, now here is example number 1. Oh, actually, this is what we're going to make. Okay, and sample number 1. Okay, this is one way to do it. Oh, I see some questions coming in. How do you make it? We're going to talk about that, okay? Yeah. Number 2 and number 3. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, friends, is I'm going to make, this one, but I'll also make this one, since this one involves some rubber bands and we might want to have some questions around how to twist the rubber band, and I'll make that one too. Okay? But right now I'm going to switch the screen you're seeing to my whole face so that we can walk through it together. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay. Alright, you guys, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make our different examples. So you're going to need, for the first example, you're just going to need some toilet paper tube or a paper towel roll tube, right? Actually, I used a paper towel tube and I just cut it in half, so I had 2 sides, right? Because you don't need a super long one, you kind of just need something sturdy and cylindrical. Okay? So here is my paper towel tube, and I'm going to put it on the ground so I have something sturdy to work with, but I'll show you what it looks like at the end. Okay, and I'm going to also use a spoon. Now the spoon, I like using a spoon, friends, because when you're trying to launch something, you have something to rest your ball, your cotton ball, or your little crumbled up piece of paper right inside. Okay, that's why I like using a spoon, but you can use whichever one you want. Now what we're going to do, friends, is we're going to take our paper towel tube and we're just going to put our spoon right in the middle. Okay, and so our tube is going to be our fulcrum, right, that piece that balances, and we're just going to take our spoon and kind of lay it across the middle like that. Okay, and tape it down. And that's our first example. Really simple, right? So you don't have to get something super complicated, right, friends, to do some really cool science and explore together. So I'm just going to use a piece of tape, and I'm going to tape it down. So here's mine, right? I'm going to make sure it's nice and secure. I might want to use some more tape. Now you notice I don't have any scissors today, right? But if you wanted to grab some scissors to cut things, right, to cut your paper towel tube, you can do that too, right? Just make sure you're being safe as you explore science together with us. So I'm going to use one more piece of tape because I feel like it might fall off. Okay, so here is my first example, right? So from all angles, I just put my spoon right towards the middle. I don't think it's exactly in the middle and it's kind of slanted, but that's okay, right? We can still explore with it. Okay, so here's my first model. So I'm going to put this to the side so I can show you how to do our second model. Now, like I mentioned before, I really liked Mr. Rubin's example of the catapult with the rubber bands, so that's the one I'm going to make next. Okay. Now, if you wanted to try this at home, don't worry, this will be recorded so you can see it. But right now, try and make your catapult however you want to. Okay, so you're going to need something to act as your fulcrum, that piece that balances everything. Okay, and something long to hold whatever you're launching. So for Mr. Rubin's example, it's going to be a paper towel tube again and a spoon. But this time, what's holding it together is rubber bands instead of tape. Okay, so I'm going to grab one rubber band at a time. For Mr. Rubin's example, you're going to need 2 rubber bands, but let's focus on one at a time. So how I'm going to make his example and how he made his example is I take my tube and I open my fingers right with our rubber band. So you're kind of making a mouth, and I'm going to make that mouth over my tube and stretch it like this, right? Now, this part might be a little tricky, but you're going to want to stretch and twist your hand like this. Okay? So you're going to want to stretch and turn your hand like this, and then wrap it one more time. So you're kind of wrapping it twice. It's super tight. Okay, so I'll show you again. So I'm going to take my rubber band and put it over one side. Okay? So now that it's over that one side, I'm going to pull it and then twist with my hands like this. Okay? And I'm going to put it all around. Now, that's one side of my tube. I'm going to take the other rubber band and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Yeah. So I'm going to take my rubber band and I'm going to put it around, right? Okay. And now I'm going to pull it. And if you remember those steps, you're going to twist it. Okay? Kind of like turning it like this. Okay? So I'm going to twist it and I'm going to wrap it around one more time. Okay? And done. Now, here are my 2 rubber bands. What I'm going to want to try and do is I'm going to take my spoon and I'm going to need to wrap my rubber band around that spoon handle. So it's really tight. But I'm going to need to pull it. Okay. And I'm going to need to pull it over the spoon handle like that. Okay. Let me show you one more time. I'm going to need to pull it over the spoon handle and do the same thing to the other side. So I'm going to take one of these 2 sides on one of these 2 pieces of my rubber band on that side. I'm going to pull it, and pull it over that spoon handle. Thank goodness my rubber band didn't break, right? So be careful, friends, if you're using rubber bands because they can break. And here we are. Okay? All right, my friends. So that is our second catapult. So just again, I'm going to show you how to do it, right? So now that you have your pieces on both sides, you're going to take one of your bits of rubber band and you're going to pull it over the spoon handle like that. And you're going to take the other one and you're going to pull it over the spoon handle and like that. Okay? And here is our second catapult. So here's this first catapult, And here is my second catapult. And the reason I like to make two catapults, and I wanted to make two catapults right now, is because one, I like exploring different designs, but the really cool thing that I like to do in science is kind of compare our designs together. So I'm curious which one we think is going to work better, right? Do you think this one with the tape is going to work better? Do you think this one with the rubber bands is going to work better? Do you think they're going to work exactly the same, right? Those are all really great questions to ask ourselves as we're building and exploring our models. Okay? Now, right now I'm going to put them down. And the reason I'm going to put them down is I want to test them. Okay? Now, I know you can't see the models on the table right now, right? Because you can just see me, right? But what I'm going to do is, in a moment, friends, I'm going to change the camera that you're seeing me from. So right now you're just seeing me from this camera. So I'm going to have a different camera right here so you can see the experiment that's on my table. That way you can see what happens when we launch our pom-pom, or our ball in this case. So let me go and do that. Okay. So hi guys. Different camera angle, right? Okay. So here are two examples, right? And they're kind of similar, right? But the really cool thing about science is we can test them to see which ones work and which ones don't, right? And which ones work better and which ones work a little bit less better, right? Now, if what we're going to try and do is, we said that we wanted to try and collect some Dixie Cups. The reason is we want to try and launch our balls into something, right? So here, I'm going to launch this guy, right? And I'm going to try and launch them right inside these cups. Now, it's been a while since Mr. Kengo's played basketball, so I'm not the whole best or the best, but you know what? It's important to try, right? Okay, so I'm going to try and launch them. Now, if it goes off the table, which could happen, right, I have two pieces of crumbled paper, right, that I can also use. So if you don't have like a ball or a cotton ball or a pom-pom, we might just have some paper, right, some extra scrap paper. We can always take it and kind of crumble it up, right? And here's my second one. So I have 3 tries, okay? In this way, we don't need fancy things at home, right? Because we probably have some scrap paper that we are going to recycle, and we can use them for this activity, right? Okay, so I'm going to try my ball first. I'm going to try it out. So let's see. Ooh, there we go. I'm going to try and launch it. And let's see if Mr. Kengo's got it. Let's try. Nope, it went way off the table. I don't think you could see that, but that was too hard. And that's a great place to start, friends, because what we're talking about, right, where there's a load side and there's an effort side, right? So what's happening is, here's Mr. Kengo's load side. It's loading whatever I'm trying to launch, right? Okay. Now the effort side is the other side of your catapult. So what you might have noticed is Mr. Kengo kind of hit it pretty hard, right? Because I thought I needed to put in more effort, right, to launch it further. But I needed a little bit less effort, right? So I don't have to hit it as hard. So there's my load side, holding what I'm trying to launch, and my effort side, where I'm going to put down a pushing force to send what I'm trying to launch, wherever I'm trying to launch it. Okay? So second try. Let's see. Oh, it landed right there. So a little bit more effort. So last try. And then we're going to take a look at what you are doing, friends. And if you have any questions before we go into a big question I want to ask you. Okay, so here is my third one. Last try, Mr. Kengo. But remember, it's okay if I don't make any of them right. It's about having fun and trying our best and learning something new. Okay, so let's try our next one. Oh, it went right over. Oh, you could see it. And that's okay too, right? So it's kind of like it's kind of like Goldilocks. It's right a little more effort than this one, but a little less effort than this one, and way less effort than the one on the floor. So what we're going to do right now, friends, is I have a question for you, and it's on the next slide. So if we had more time, Mr. Kengo would probably launch these ones. You know what? I'm going to launch them just because I'm curious. I wonder if I'm going to make it this time. Nope, way off. But that's okay. So let's go back to our big question. I'm getting distracted. Okay, so right now, friends, I have a question for you, and what I did is I took a picture or a video of me launching one of my catapults, right? And here is that video. Now my screen is back over here, right? The camera you're seeing. So I have a big question for you, friends. And that question is, right, this is what happened with Mr. Kengo's catapult, right? Another video of it. I'm curious if you can tell, and you can comment in the comment box, right? Leave us a comment, right? Where you see the forces happening, right? Because we've been talking about forces, right? And the force, again, friends, is a push or a pull, right? So we're trying to look for where we see pushes happening and pulls happening in the video in front of you. So go ahead and leave us a comment where you see pushes happening and where you see pulls happening. Now, if you're not quite sure, friends, in a moment I'm going to share where I see those things happening. Okay, so don't worry, right? But go ahead and try your best just like you saw me try, right? And it's okay if we're not quite sure, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look over here so I can take a look at what your responses are. And then in a moment, I'll share what those forces that I know I'm seeing are and where they are occurring. Okay, so let me go back to Facebook to see what our friends' thoughts are. Oh, yeah. So I see Katie said that John saying there's a pushing force happening when we're hitting our spoon. Nice job, John. You are exactly right. That's one of the forces I'm going to talk about in a moment, right? Victoria saying there's a force, there's a pulling force, gravity, right? Awesome. Marlo, a nice job with that complete sentence. Gravity pulls when it comes down, when it goes down. Nice. Yeah, nice job, Marlo. Gravity is definitely pulling the ball back down to the ground, which we're going to see in a little bit. Oh, hi, Annie. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, Aaron, yeah. So, Aaron, you're exactly right. Right. When you see my hand pushing down on that spoon, that's definitely a pushing force, right? And that's launching the ball into the air. Nice job. Oh, nice job. Kopal saying lever too. Nice job, friends, knowing and recognizing some of our simple machines. That's awesome, right? And that's definitely an example of a lever. Cool. I see Annie saying push. Oh, thanks, Darlene. I'm glad you're having fun. Let's see. Maybe I missed some. I see. Oh, I see Gina saying your preschoolers are loving this. Thank you, Gina. I'm glad I see knowing some of our little friends are joining us. So I'm glad your preschoolers are joining us today. Oh, so Melissa asked a question, how many different kinds of forces are there? That's a really good question. So, I'm not sure exactly a number, but I like to think about them in pushes and pulls. But there are some forces that are kind of non-contact forces, which deal with magnetism and things like that. I don't know too much about that side, but I like to think about them for our friends in terms of pushes or pulls. So really two different kinds, right? But that's just me. Let's see. Okay, so I'm seeing some friends, Hannah, saying pushing force, right? So friends, let's take a closer look because I'm hearing a lot of responses about pushes, right, and pulls, right? So we're saying that there's a pushing force that's happening when we hit our spoon, and then a pulling force when our ball is coming back down to the table. So I'm going to go ahead and change my screen back to our slides just so that you can see what I'm about to show you. Okay, so here is that same animation, right? That same GIF of our catapult launching. Now, just like you mentioned, friends, there is a pushing force happening when Mr. Kengo's hitting that spoon, right? So when you're trying to launch your catapult or your ball or your piece of paper, right, there's a pushing force occurring, right? When we push it down, the ball goes up into the air, right? That's a pushing force, right? But just like you mentioned too, there's also a pulling force when the ball is coming back down. That's an example of a pulling force, right? And that pulling force is gravity. So if you said those things too, friends, great job. If you were still taking some time and you needed a little extra time, friends, to type those things out, or you wanted to share something and somebody already shared it in the comments, that's okay, right? You can still share it. I would love to see it. I know our friends here at the Science Center would love to see it too, right? And it's still really great to always share your thoughts too. Scientists often have the same idea, right? So that's still really valuable to share your thoughts with us. Okay? So there's those two forces that we can see right in front of our eyes, right, friends? And we can see it as we keep exploring our catapults that we just made. Okay, now it is time, almost time for the end of our program, but I do want to try and go back to our driving question today. Okay, now our driving questions, right, that we saw in the very beginning of our program today are up on your screen. So let's see if we can answer them today. Okay, so those questions are: what is a force, right? And where can we see a force or forces around us, right? So what is a force, and where can we see a force or forces around us? So just like you've been doing, friends, so far, really, really well today, I would love to see your thoughts and leave us a comment, right? I'd love to see them in the chat, right, so that we can see what you're learning, what you now know about forces, right? A lot of us already knew what a force was, so go ahead and leave it in the comment now, and we're going to move on to one more thing before we all end today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look this way so I can see what you all are thinking. So let's take a look. Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm glad Pavika enjoyed it. Oh, thanks, Jen. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, so awesome. I see some friends are saying gravity, right? Nice job. Oh, I see some friends are saying there's pushing down and pulling. Cool. So yeah, friends, so there are a force, right? So let's start there. A force is a push or a pull. And that's our big idea for today, right? A force is a push or a pull, okay? And we can see forces around us all the time, right? And we saw some and talked about some different examples already, right? We talked about how we can see forces acting around us when we go outside and play, right? When we jump up and down, when we play soccer or basketball, or even play with the models that we just made, right? There's different ways that we can see forces acting around us all the time. Okay, now since we worked so hard on our models, and I would love to see the models that you created, if you wanted to explore them and try what Mr. Kengo tried, right? So I tried to put them and launch them right into our cups, or my cups, right? If you want to try that, go ahead and try that after we're all done today, right? See how many baskets you can make in a minute, right? I didn't make any. That's okay, right? Because I can always try again later. But if you want to share your catapult that you worked on today and you would love to share that with us, go ahead and send us some pictures. I would love to see them. I know our friends at the Science Center Would also love to see them. And be sure just to put in hashtag Liberty Science Center so that we can all see them together. Okay, and I would love to see how many catapults or baskets you can make. I'm going to try again later after I'm done with our program. Okay, but right now, my friends, that is the end of our program. So before we officially end, I'm going to take a moment to see if there's any questions or thoughts. Thank you to our friends that are putting in the comments how many different forces there are. Thumbs up. Um, if you're looking for more activities, friends, go ahead and go to our website. You can see more activities on our website at LSC in the House, so you can try different experiments from home. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to go over to our comments to see if anyone has any questions. But friends, this is the official end of our program, so I hope you had fun. Thank you as always for joining us here on Facebook Live. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you next Monday to talk about something new. Okay, so let me go see if any of our friends have comments. Let's see. Oh, thanks. Thanks, KP. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Oh, thanks, Daniel. Bye, Nia. Take care. Oh, you're welcome, Melissa. Thank you for joining us. Oh, hi, Ben. Thank you for joining us, Ben. Bye, Aaron. Oh, thank you, Aaron. I'm really glad you liked the videos. Let's see who else. Oh, bye. Bye, Karina. Miss you guys too. I hope to see you all at the Science Center very soon. That'll be a lot of fun. Oh, bye, Rocco. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Angeline, for joining us. Let's see. Oh, bye, Vivian. Bye, Peggy. Let's see. I don't see any questions so far. Just a lot of friends saying thank you, and you're very welcome, friends. If I don't see your thank you message or don't acknowledge it, friends, here on our live feed, please know that I do see it at some point after. I love seeing those comments again after our program is over, so thank you so much. Oh, Josiah, you're welcome. All right, my friends. So I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. I don't see any questions, which is totally fine. Okay, but I wish you an awesome rest of the week, and thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you next Monday.